Hi, everyone. How are your summers? I can't wait to hear all of your stories and how much you love Mark and how you really wish that he was still here. Tell me all of it after church. Some Sundays I may wish that he was still here. Can't wait to hear everything. My own summer was nowhere nearly as productive or as long as I had hoped it would be. Anyone else? I will confess that my plans for completing my licensing exams still remain plans. Please don't ask me about them. Human plans, God laughs, right? Well, more accurately, this human planned, and then this human got very sick. Maybe it was the cumulative effect of these past 3 years weighing down on me and finally taking a moment to breathe. Maybe it was the particular challenges of our dear collegiate church that landed on my desk this past year. My doctor actually isn't quite sure what the cause was, but the month of July found me completely knocked out. My body just laid down. A course of very heavy-duty medication, more of which you will hear about in a forthcoming sermon as soon as I calm down enough to be able to give it to you, about the unethical, unfaithful, and oxymoronic state of for-profit health insurance in our country. And many, many naps. I'm fully recovered, and I've found my energy again and my strength and a lot of joy. But writing Blue Book exams in the state testing centers, that's still on the radar. I'm not worried about this. If you want something done, give it to the person with the busiest desk, right? I have no doubt that the collegiate church will soon offer me just such a luxury to get done what I couldn't get done during rest. I had ambitions and plans and thoughts about how the beginning of my time away would go. Turns out God said, no, you're not going to be able to keep going the way you have been going. Sleep. Nope. Turns out buying a boat, not a good idea. Don't do that, Will. You don't have any time. When are you going to take that out? No, you're not going to get that book out of your head and onto the page this month. Just stop, rest, and dream. I did. And I thank God for that. This month shall mark for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. There are some lines of scripture that I really love. This phrasing, this sentence construction, it's like thunder rolling through. It's powerful, this phrasing. This month shall mark for you the beginning of months. I love this phrasing, the way the Hebrew scribes remember the beginning of the story of Exodus. This month shall mark for you the beginning of months. How true is that for so many of us here today? A new school year, the beginning of the 9-month countdown to everyone's next summer vacation. A new program year here at the church or at your job. The beginning of so many ambitious plans and hopes for the year. Maybe you're starting or hope to start a new job. Maybe there's a new baby on the way, yours, or maybe it's your baby's baby that is on the way. Maybe there's a new medical intervention or a new complication that's forcing you to reevaluate your own plans. It's a new apartment for some, a new relationship for others, a new home or a newly empty home, a much prayed for new tenant in a very old church, a new lease on life, a new journey, a fresh start. This month shall be for you and your people the beginning of months. There's a line in the beginning of the movie You've Got Mail, which for everyone under the age of 40 is a reference to email, which for everyone under the age of 30 is the precursor to texting, and if you're under 20, it's what your parents do when you're DMing. Anyway, You've Got Mail is the remake of a far superior movie called When Harry Met Sally, starring the same cast with the same writer and the same Upper West Side sensibility. But You've Got Mail has some good lines. Thank you, Nora Ephron. In this film, there's a scene where Tom Hanks's character writes to Meg Ryan's character, "Don't you just love New York in the fall? It makes me want to go buy school supplies. I would send you a bouquet of newly sharpened pencils, if only I knew your name or address." I love this about fall. I love this about September. I love this about school years. I still buy myself a new notebook every fall. This year's it's lemon yellow, perhaps the result of a cheerful summer. All of us are setting out on something we think we can plan for. New notebooks and newly sharpened pencils. We set out on a journey for what we think we know will happen. We like to think we know what will happen, even if what is going to happen is all about change. Even the things that we hope will make us grow. Even the things that are designed to make us change, things like school years or church years. Even those things that are by nature about change. Well, we all know that resistance comes up from now and again, and we all know how much easier it is to slip back into the comfortable ways of doing what we've always done. We plan and we scheme and we buy new notebooks, and then life intervenes and God shows up, and what actually happens. Some beginnings wind up with new beginnings again and again. Now, the ancient Hebrews were suffering under Egyptian enslavement and a horrible succession of plagues visit upon their houses. They had had enough. The Egyptians had had enough too, I think. I can imagine everyone was praying for change in whatever way everyone prayed. But praying is where it stopped. This happens to us too, right? I've had enough of racism, of homophobia, of unequal pay, of misogyny, you name it. I've had enough of these things, and I know you have too. And I know the victims of our own racism, homophobia, unequal pay, misogyny, you name it. I know that they have too. And I know that all of us pray for this to end. What are we doing to make it end? For the ancient Hebrews, God stepped in with this very elegant sentence construction that this day of this month shall be for you the beginning of new months. In other words, start your engines. On your mark, God says when God shows up. Let us begin. Time starts now, God says. And here's what we're going to do. And we're going to do things differently. Now, hopefully this fall and the beginning of your months will be a little easier for all of us than it was for these ancient Hebrews. For the ancient faithful, it began with a slaughtering of animals and painting of the doorways with their blood. I've consulted the dogs, and we all agree that we advise against such a practice, both on ethical and practical reasons. Co-op boards and management companies frown upon painting doors, let alone with blood. But let's not move too quickly over this ancient practice. Let's think ritualistically. Let's think transformatively about what such a practice might mean. A doorpost, an entryway, a beginning. The start of your house where the sidewalk ends. The crossing of a threshold at the start of a marriage. The stepping foot in an old place wondering, I don't know why I'm frightened. Doorways are symbols of change, of passage, from this place to what's beyond. Doors. Then there's blood. Blood is a sign of covenant, sealed in blood. Those are Jesus' words. Signed in blood, an unbreakable contract. Blood Brothers, a mediocre 1990s musical, but also the making of family among dear friends. In the ancient Near East, blood was the sign of a treaty. It was the Treaty of Kings. It's called a vassal treaty. When making a treaty among ancient kingdoms, there would be a slaughtered animal, and the kings would literally walk through it. Walking through blood binds blood. Blood, the source of life, the fragility of life, a covenant. A doorway and blood. Painting a door with blood is covering a transition with promise. And for the ancient Hebrews, it was God's promise that the angel of death would pass over their house. Now, for the ancient Hebrews, the angel of death was literal physical death, passing over literal physical blood, painted on literal physical doors. For us, we could think more imaginatively. What might we be ready to die here on this side of the threshold before crossing over to the other side of the threshold? What can we put down? What can we leave on the sidewalk for the garbage man tomorrow before walking into the new covenant just beyond? Here at the beginning of months, at the start of time, with freshly sharpened pencils, what will we let go of as we come to begin again? This week and for the next 2 weeks, we're going to stay with these ancient Hebrews and this story of theirs. The beginning of the story of Exodus. It comes up in the 12th chapter of Exodus. By this point in the story, Aaron and Moses have been appointed. Pharaoh knows that something is afoot. Locusts and frogs have descended. Blood is painted, and doorways are a passage to freedom. And over these weeks, we'll hear stories of transition and of growth, of travel, of wonder and of wander, and of change. In these stories we will hear, stories you know, stories Hollywood knows, stories our children know. We will learn again. And we will hear in these stories the secrets for how to be free. The story of an enslaved people, finding their freedom, walking into their freedom, realizing how bloody hard freedom is, and of the trials and tribulations that become necessary to win your freedom. We'll hear all of these adventures and complaints, the miracles and the mysteries that occurred in this month of months in the ancient world. Together, we'll also talk about the adventures and the opportunities, the miracles and the mysteries occurring in our own lives in this month of months for us. Sharpen your pencils, get your shoes on, and sit back for just one more moment to take a deep breath. A deep, deep, soul-filling breath for the journey that is beginning right now. Imagine the doorway that is opening to you. And imagine the promise that is written on its lintel. that promise for change and motivation, for growth and new beginnings, and for success, and for freedom. What will you leave behind? What new loves will you embrace and carry through? How is this the beginning that you've always wanted and never knew how? How have you been longing to start? And will you see it through? That's what church can be here for you to do. For when you falter, there are shoulders and hands and smiles to pick you up and encourage you. And when you are successful, there are hands that will clap, and teeth that will grin, and eyes that will twinkle as they say, "Well done, show me how." Together we will lead and we will follow. Together we will walk arm in arm and side by side. Together we will carry those who need carrying and be carried, this is harder, by those who can carry. How is this the beginning of the month that for you and your household will mark the beginning of months? For so it has been written, this month is the beginning of the months, and for you this day shall be holy. Thanks be to God. Amen.